really hard to say what my favourite Australian film and television program is. I've got so many, and I've got so many across so many different genres. If we're talking like classic 1970s, 1980s movies, I've always loved Breaking Morant. I watched that film so many times as a kid. There was something about it, I have no idea what it was, whether it was the poetry mixed with horse riding and action. I just loved that movie. I watched it religiously as a kid.
Well, of course, if I say TV, I'm going to say stuff I've written, but no, I won't do that. My actual favourite Australian TV series was Young Ramsay. And it was a show about a vet, a country vet, and I loved that show. My most recent favourite Australian television series would be The Slap, just because I love Christos's work. His novel was so full of conflict and so contemporary, and I loved the characters, and I think they did a really awesome adaptation of that for the screen.
Going back in time, films like Ayken, Fright, going right back to 1971, but that's a film that every time I see it, I just think, wow.
Just out of the blue, I think Shine from Scott Hicks is certainly one of the films that I enjoy watching and watching again.
My Brilliant Career, that's a film that I remember so much, sort of feeling like it was representing me and my voice and my situation.
10 Canoes is a great film, I think. I am, in general, very keen on Rolf de Heer's films.
I really like Dance Academy. I think that Joanna Werner Pictures did a fabulous job with Dance Academy on the ABC. I think it was really innovative and pioneering and treated the child audience very respectfully, with very robust content, and was beautifully made and visually spectacular. So that's one of my favourite shows.
The Mad Max trilogy was an absolute favourite. The Men from Snowy River, Picnic at Hanging Rock would probably be one of my favourite of all time. The filmmaking in that is sumptuous, and Peter Weir does so much with shots of rocks, and kind of the atmosphere he's able to craft using landscape is phenomenal, and it's such an eerie film.
My favourite Australian film would be Sirens. The reason I love that is twofold. One is I'm an enormous fan of Norman Lindsay. He's someone who really inspired me as a young writer and now graphic novelist. The man was not just an enormous talent, but a maverick for his time. He did things, he was way ahead of his time in his thinking and his attitudes. I think that the film addressed this part of his life really well. I loved Sam Neill's performance of Lindsay. I loved the whole thing. I think it's just an exquisitely shot film. It's beautifully written. The cast was perfection. I mean, you know, he got Hugh Grant before he was famous, Sam Neill before he was mega famous, Portia de Rossi before she was Mrs. Ellen DeGeneres. It's just Elle Macpherson when she was famous. It's just a tapestry of beauty and a script also that deals with something that you very rarely see, which is the hero's journey addressed from a female perspective.
I love a whole range of genres in Australian cinema as well. I love the Australian horror movie, of course. Sir Patrick would be one of my favourite Australian horror movies of all time, and of course Razorback and Wolf Creek is definitely up there as well.
The opera film that Rachel Perkins has done, I think, is unique. If I have to give an opera film worldwide, that film comes on the top.
My other Australian favourite film would have to be Romper Stomper, which is the complete flip side of light and dark. The cinematographer, the late and wonderful Ron Hagen, who was a very close dear friend of mine, God rest his soul. He did some really innovative things with the cinematography of that film. There's a shot, for example, when the skinheads are running and being chased down some back alleys of Melbourne. So he had the Steadicam mount and had his assistant pulling him by the back, so he was running backwards whilst he was filming that. And there's not many cinematographers, I don't think, who could do what he achieved in that. Also, the other reason script-wise that I love Romper Stomper is because it does something that I think a lot of Australian cinema really excels at, which is embraces the shadow side of our culture and our psyche as Australians.
Last week we had a screening of Lion here at the film school with the producer Angie Fielder, and I love Lion. I think it's a really impressive Australian film because it actually locates Australia within the world and tells an important story about what it means to be Australian, what it means to be human in a certain way.
But in terms of recent movies, Mad Max 4 is amazing, and The Dressmaker, I think it's brilliant. I love how quirky it is, how it crosses so many different genres, and how it's got that really strong female character. I think it's a great film. It's definitely one of my favourite contemporary films.